Starting off with Mr. Triple-Double, Russell Westbrook is headed to L.A. in a blockbuster trade with the Wizards for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and the 22nd pick in yesterday's draft, which turned out to be Isaiah Jackson of Kentucky. Now, look, assuming the deal goes through, the Lakers will have 3 of the top 7 active leaders in career points per game next season. The trio is combined for 30 All-Star, All-NBA selections. According to Elias, they joined Karl Malone, Shaq, and Gary Payton with the 2003-2004 Lakers as the only trios to enter a season with 30 such selections. And all you can say is wow if you're from LA. NBA reporter Dave McMenamin joins us now with more. Dave, we've got another big 3 here in LA with Westbrook, LeBron, and AD. So how do the Lakers see all these guys fitting together?
Wow, indeed. You're talking about Russell Westbrook at 32 years old. For the last 5 seasons, he averaged a triple-double, but it's not an obvious fit because LeBron James is such a ball-dominant player. Now, the LA Times reported that Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and LeBron James all got together at James's residence in the last couple weeks to hash things out and make it clear that everyone would be willing to sacrifice for the good of the whole. And I had a league source telling me that Russell Westbrook can be nothing but great for Anthony Davis in terms of his intensity rubbing off on the young big man. And so Anthony's motor gets going more so in the regular season. And let's not forget that LeBron, as he enters into year 18, going to turn 37 years old in December, it's not the worst thing in the world to add a guy who played 65 out of 72 games last year, who is durable, who's willing to take on a big load in the regular season, and perhaps you can save some of LeBron's legs and his body for the postseason where it really matters.
That would be huge for a Lakers team that was banged up with injuries last year. And Dave, we know that the Lakers finished 7th in the West last season. We talked about the injuries, but they also depleted a lot of their bench in this trade. So what other moves could we see them make this offseason to improve their roster?
Yeah, Ryan, they had to do a lot of them. They only have 4 guys under contract right now when you talk about the big 3 plus Marc Gasol. First, you look at their 2 guys that they have the birds rights, 2 guards in Talen Horton-Tucker, who they've already made a qualifying offer to make him a restricted free agent. So anyone who wants to make an offer towards him, the Lakers could match. Alex Caruso, another guy who is an unrestricted free agent, but they're going to make a deal. But look at veteran minimum type guys. We're talking about Carmelo Anthony. We're talking about J.J. Redick. The Lakers were 21st in three-point shooting last year. And a guy they could target with their mid-level exception is Patty Mills out of the San Antonio Spurs. Championship experience, great international experience, playing games, and he can really shoot the ball from the outside. The Lakers are going to need to add some shooters here because they already stripped away their best one in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in the Russell Westbrook trade.
And they'll need a lot of depth on that bench. That could be a great answer for them. Dave McMenamin with the very latest on the Lakers.
Possible to average a triple-double in the NBA? What do you thought that?
I would say, why not?
Big baller, on my way to a triple-double.
Westbrook's got his triple-double.
Triple-double, triple-double. Move over, pick up.
What he's doing is just electrifying. He just attacks everybody.
There's no player like myself.
He's made the triple-double look so easy.
This shit ain't easy, though. I'll tell you that.
History. Russell Westbrook has just surpassed Oscar Robertson.
Normally, I don't like to pat myself on the back, but tonight I will. I won't stop until I can't play no more.
Westbrook gives the Lakers a star-studded big 3. LeBron, AD, and Westbrook have combined for 34 All-Star selections. They would be the second team to have a trio with that many, along with the 2011 Celtics, who featured Shaq, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce. It also gives the Lakers 2 of the best playmakers of all time. LeBron and Westbrook have combined for 283 career triple-doubles. Westbrook is the all-time leader in that category, while LeBron ranks 5th. Both players also have a scoring title and assist title under their belt. But then there's this question of how they'll fit, especially in terms of floor spacing. Westbrook shoots just over 30% from 3 in his career, something the Lakers ranked 21st in last season. But to be fair, LeBron won 2 titles with D. Wade, who shot worse than 30% from 3 in his career. The Nets remain the favorites to win the title next season, according to Caesars in Vegas, but the Lakers not far behind. After LA, it's the Bucks at plus 800, followed by Golden State. Now it is great to be joined by our friend TNT's Kenny the Jet Smith. Kenny, how we doing?
I'm doing great down here in Chapel Hill, as you see, at the Dean E. Smith Center. out here enjoying myself and
Love it.
having a good summer.
Good. That's what we like to hear. We got so much to talk to you about, but we want to get your reaction to the major news. Obviously, the Russell Westbrook teaming up with LeBron and AD in LA. Your reaction?
Well, I think, we heard all the rumblings that they wanted to add another piece, the big three or whatever you want to call it. Russell Westbrook, obviously, what he does, not just on the scoring end, but in terms of the pace of the game. It allows LeBron to be a finisher a lot instead of always the facilitator. And so, running that break, you have LeBron on the wing instead of with the ball a lot of times now. That's going to be a difficult situation for a lot of teams to handle.
I feel you on that, Kenny. It's always good to see you, my brother. You know that. I feel you. I feel you on that. Here's where my reservation lies as it pertains to winning a championship, because I definitely think they'll be the Final Four in the NBA, but winning a championship. Couple of things. Number one, that pace of play you just alluded to. LeBron James is phenomenal of a conditioned athlete as he is. He's no young spring chicken any longer. And so that pace of play, that's not necessarily a guarantee in my estimation. That's number one. And number two, their perimeter shooting. Because we all know that when you talk about beating a Golden State, when you talk about beating the Clippers, when you're talking about beating the Nets potentially in an NBA Finals, you got to be able to shoot the rock, not just from the perimeter, but from the free throw line. And as I pointed out early in the show, LeBron James shot 69% from the free throw line last year. Russell Westbrook shot 65%. Kyrie was at 92. James Harden's at 86. KD was at around 87, 88. Those things matter. What do you say to that?
I'd say the one thing that, for perimeter shooting, I thought I was a good shooter until I got to Houston. I became a great shooter because you go to Houston and you get an extra second because they're double teaming great players. And so when you're playing with a guy like LeBron and Russell and AD, if you're a good shooter, you become great because now you're going to be left open. It was the first time in my life, Steven and guys, that I was left open. So there are certain guys who probably had never been left open that long that will have, opportunities. If you think of guys like PJ Tucker when he was in Houston and even this year, they get shots and they get an extra second to think about it and to really set their feet. So that actually makes you a better shooter playing with those guys who are maybe a marginal guy who comes in and say he can knock down shots. Then all of a sudden he comes there and they say, man, he's a prolific three-point shooter. It's because you got extra time.
Kenny, let's say they get two pure shooters to round out the starting five, right? Because they still got the sign and trade rights for Schroeder, and they have Talen Horton-Tucker. They have some stuff that may not work on this team, but other teams might be interested in. I look at the Nets. The difference is offensively, all three of their big three are, for their size, among the greatest scorers ever from anywhere, right? That's not the Lakers. But if the Lakers round out the starting five with a couple of pure shooters, is that enough, or does the shooting need to be distributed better among the guys who are going to touch the ball as the most, like Westbrook and LeBron and AD? Does that give the Nets an advantage if they should meet in the finals?
Are we already negating the fact that the Milwaukee Bucks won the
Yeah, because they only won because the Nets got hurt. Come on, Kenny.
Think that they're going to be back anywhere? I just feel that, there's a lot of things that you could say in terms of talent. If you look on paper, those two teams have, some talent, but they're most talented roster assembled. However, like we said, they're not in there. This is not Russell Westbrook 8 years ago. This is not LeBron 8 years ago. This is not, even pre-injury for Kevin Durant. Like, if Kevin Durant is in the Olympics 5 years ago, they don't lose a game. Like, he could take over all of those games. So this is not the same kind of guys. And, youthfulness, energy, playing together, that means something. So I wouldn't just hand those two teams, the East and the West, at all. I think that they're going to have to work for it. They have to stay injury free. They're going to be playing that saving him for this game, and that gets you out of rhythm. And I thought that got the Lakers out of rhythm this year, and we'll see if it doesn't do it this next year.
Russell Westbrook, Kenny Smith, fourth team in 4 years.